before we talk about boundaries, there are a couple of issues here that I want to clarify, especially when this topic comes up. And here are a few that I can think of. Some of us, we might have heard of it. It's like the new buzzword, a trend nowadays, but many of us might not really know what it really is. And some might not even believe that we need it or believe in it. And of course, if we wanted to do something about it, we might be too scared. And that lead to might not need, we might not know how to set, enforce, or maintain it. So it might become wobbly. So what are boundaries? So according to them, they say that boundaries define us. They define what is me and what is not me. A boundary shows me where I end and someone else begins, leading me to a sense of ownership. Knowing what I am to own and take responsibility for gives me freedom. So here again, it associates boundaries with a sense of ownership, responsibility, and with that, it offers you freedom. And there are 7 common types of boundaries. Of course, it's not exclusive, but they're most common ones. The first one is being physical. That pertains to our personal space, privacy, and physical safety. Second one is sexual. This is our right to consent for physical touch and physical intimacy. Third is time. This is something that's usually get overlooked, right? Time boundaries. This is to help prevent burnout, help us maintain a work-life balance, or anywhere time that we need balance. 4 is our financial and material boundaries. This includes our money, our resources, and our possession. 5 is our emotional and mental boundaries. This is to know that you have the right to your own feelings and thoughts. 6 is spiritual. This includes your values, your beliefs, and your religious practices. 7 is energetic. This includes it's something that might be invisible, but you can feel it, you can sense it, right? It's your life energy, vitality, overall well-being. So in short, for me, boundaries are what you need to help you feel safe, free, and healthy in relationships. So I know this is a whole lot, but we can play a little boundary bingo card here, okay? So these are some of the signs of having poor boundaries. It's not comprehensive, but these are the major ones. So I want you to go ahead and grab a pencil and paper and look through this list and check off. You can put numbers on them of what you see, what you can identify in yourself that you might do or struggle with. Give me a thumbs up when you're done. Okay, thank you. Awesome. All right, I'm also done as well. Who has at least mark at least 5 of these signs on their paper? Yeah. Who has 10 from 5 to 10? Okay. Who has more than 10? All right, so around 5 to 10. Who would like to say, like, pick the top 1 or 2 signs that you definitely put a star next to, and say a sentence or 2 about what it is that you choose there, the signs that you see. Another thing we can look at that makes setting boundaries difficult, especially Asian American, are these common myths about them, common beliefs. Again, I put 8 here. Go ahead and look through them. Number 1 is I do not need to set boundaries with people I love and are closest to me. 2 is setting boundaries is selfish, rude, mean, and disrespectful. 3, setting boundaries is wrong because I feel bad or guilty afterward. 4, if someone set a boundary with me, they are pushing me away or don't care about me. 5, if I begin setting boundaries, I will get hurt or lose the people I love. 6, setting boundaries is telling someone what to do or try to control them. 7, boundaries are one size fits all and permanent, such as going no contact. 8, setting boundaries isn't something Asian people do. So which are your top beliefs about setting boundaries? A lot of these are what underlying the issue for people that they cannot set it or maintain it or enforce it. So then it will fall apart. So it's important to reframe these myths. So here's my reframing, right? For number one, I say that relationship without boundaries are codependent and enmesh, causing confusion and resentment in the long term. Number two is setting boundaries is getting clear about your limits and practicing good self-care by communicating them respectfully to others. And number three, setting boundaries can trigger guilt, but that doesn't mean it's bad or wrong. It can mean the guilt is misplaced. So you got to practice a bit more discernment, get to the root of the feeling. Four, if someone set a boundary with me, they care enough about the relationship to be honest and help me better understand what they're feeling and needing. Five, if I begin setting boundaries, I will see the quality and strength of my relationship with others. Six, setting boundaries empowers us to take responsibility for our emotions and actions, respecting both people's right to make their own decision in the relationship. And seven, good boundaries are firm yet flexible and adaptable for the need of the situation or people involved. Eight is that we can learn to set healthy boundaries in a family honoring way without betraying our personal values. Right, so it's finding that sweet spot in there. And, you know, a lot of us, at least I heard saying that, oh yeah, Asian parents, they don't do boundaries. They don't have the concept of boundaries. And I was like, that is not necessarily true. They do understand boundaries. They just don't understand boundaries with you. They understand boundaries, what it means to be what's acceptable inside the home and outside the home. What is an acceptable boundary of, you know, how you should behave towards your elders, right? All the limits that they put on you. You cannot do this, you cannot do that, you cannot say that, you cannot say this. So they do understand boundaries. It's just when it comes to their children, they believe that doesn't exist. All right. So what are these steps here to attempt to create healthy boundaries? So going with 4. The first thing you need to do is to get clear. And this means to see and accept people and the situation as they are happening, not what you want or wish them to be. So you have to start with getting clarity. And that also means to listen to your gut instinct and trust in your intuition. A good question you can ask yourself is, what do I know right now? Right? So if you got the feeling in your gut to say, this doesn't feel right, something is off here, or you feel this sudden rage of just saying like, no, enough, I don't want this anymore. Those are healthy instinct to say boundaries need to be set here. Something isn't right. Next up is you got to tune into yourself. You got to notice the sensations, feelings, and thoughts that are coming up without judgment. Oftentimes we shut down. It's the judgment shut down. Oh, you shouldn't feel that way. Oh, no, that's bad. And then all the fears, all the anxieties that come up, all those self-talk. And then we'll abandon that and we stop looking. So notice what you're feeling without judgment, and then explore, why do you feel the way you do? Right? Again, a good clarification questions for you be, what do I feel right now? And then you can dig a little deeper. I feel this way because I value, I care about. It is pointing to a very specific personal values that you hold. And sometimes you might know it, sometimes you might not even know it. So it kind of helps lead you down there to get clear with yourself and connect with what it is that you do know and what you do feel. Third is discernment. So now that you have those two, next try to identify what you really need and or want in that moment without shame or guilt. Again, don't judge yourself. Just go ahead and write it down, journal it, or be aware of that. Clarification question would be, what do I need or want in this moment? So you go from knowing, feeling, then narrowing down to your needs and your want. And lastly, take action. If you do feel safe enough, speak your truth about what you need or want clearly and respectfully. And how you do that is without blame or shame to yourself or to the other person. That's how you can get to that respectable middle ground. Then after you do that, you let go of the need to control what the other people will think or do. That is outside of your hand now. The most important thing is that you can ask yourself, with this action and decision that you want to do, does it align with your deepest truth and values? That way, no matter what happens, you know, you listen to yourself, you honor your feelings, you communicate your want or your need without betraying any of your values. So here's two examples. First one is with friends. So the formula to put together how to set healthy boundaries. Again, you start with what you know, you see, and you understand about the situation. Then about how you feel about it, what you need and what you want, and then the consequences. So look at these two examples here. Let's say your friend has been not showing up to your scheduled dates, right? And you're feeling a little bit upset about that. So how can you actually talk to them about it without creating a huge conflict or fight? You can say, I know how busy you've been. However, I feel taken for granted when you don't show up for our coffee dates without letting me know. I need to know ahead of time if you can't make it. Otherwise, I will need to take a break from inviting you. Versus the other option would be, you make me feel like our friendship means nothing when you don't show up. You have to show up or respond to me right away, or else our friendship is over. Can you see what's the difference there between the first example and the second? What's the biggest difference you see or you notice? But you also see how the top one focusing on I know, I feel, I need. Versus the next one would be you start out with an accusation tone. You have to. There's a sense of threat there, threat and control. Right? And that usually causes the other person to become defensive, raising their guard, and then you get into a fight, possibly. Or they might not speak to you anymore. It's like, they let that go. So there's not a whole lot to work with there if you were to approach it from that confrontational, accusational perspective. So this definitely takes practice. All right, so let's look at a parent's example. This one's a little trickier because especially if we're dealing with Asian parents, we got to buffer it a little bit. So the formula that I come up with is you want to acknowledge the effort and good intention. And then you can put in there how you feel, what you need or want, and then the consequences. So here are the first example. Let's say your parents always telling you, comparing you to other people's kids, your cousin, somebody else in your class, and say, why can't you be more like that? So how can you respond to that? Hopefully from a place of calm and centeredness, not in the heat of the moment. You can go and let them know, I understand that you care about my future and want me to be successful. I also know that you don't want me to fail and become homeless. So you acknowledge what they're trying to do. Now you can let them know how you feel. However, I feel like you don't believe in me when you constantly compare me to other people. I need you to know that we are different and I can do better with your love and support by acknowledging my efforts. If not, I will have to stop sharing my goals and dreams with you. Or the second option would be, you always compare me to other people and put me down. I want you to stop criticizing me and treat me with respect, or else I will not speak to you again. Again, the second example sound like, yeah, that's really strong boundary. Woohoo, good for you. You tell your parents off. But again, it kind of shut down the conversation and draw a very, very strong boundary, if you would call that. That's like, one of the example we talk about, right? You start saying no to everything and everybody. There's not much wiggle room. There's no acknowledgement there. You lost that connection to the relationship. Do you guys have anything to add, or maybe you might see other ways you can change it? Yeah, definitely. So this is just a general guideline here. Of course, you can put it in your own words, what fits for you, what feels right for you, and your values. Of course, this is not going to be like perfect right out the bat, right? You may have to draft it, practice it, role play with somebody. So then when you do deliver it, they're they can feel that sense of like you got clarity behind you. You got that power and that courage versus come and be like, mom and dad, I understand you care about me. Like coming from that with that tone, it's going to be very hard to take you seriously. So, yeah, this is definitely a practice for sure. But hopefully, this will give you a guidance of how to get started. Again, this is up to you if you want to do it. You can take about 10 minutes to think about these questions. So, number one is to think about a time where you successfully set boundaries or stand up for yourself. How did it feel? And what did it teach you about yourself? Specifically, the needs, wants, and values of that moment. And if you haven't done it successfully, who do you see embodying the skills and what can you learn from them? This could be somebody who is in your life, the real, dead or alive, or a fictional character that you really admire. And number three, how can you apply the lessons you learn from your experiences or examples from others to help you navigate your boundaries issues now?